So what happens when you get everything you're supposed to want? The job, the money, your own place, and it just leaves you feeling totally empty? Well, we're about to dive into the story of a young American who found himself in that exact spot and went looking for a real answer. And this quote, man, it just says it all, right? On the outside, everyone's looking at him like he's made it, like he should be happy. But on the inside, he felt exactly the same as before. That huge gap between how things looked and how they actually felt, well, that's what started this whole journey. So let's start with part 1, the emptiness of success. I mean, this is where it all begins. He basically speed runs the American dream, gets everything he's told will make him happy, only to find out there's this huge, surprising void waiting for him. Just look at the difference here. On one side, you have the American dream checklist. He's only 18, and he's already got a good job in tech sales, his own apartment. I mean, he's killing it, right? But then you look at his internal reality. He felt the same, he was lonely, and he just had this nagging thought in the back of his mind. There has to be more than this. And this question, this is really the turning point. You have to picture it. He's lying in bed, in his own apartment, surrounded by all the stuff that's supposed to mean he's successful. And he just thinks, is this it? Am I just going to keep chasing things forever? That realization that the chase itself was empty, man, that had to be a huge, unsettling moment. Okay, so section 2, an encounter on Omegle. This is where the story takes a really unexpected turn. He ends up losing his job, so suddenly he has nothing but time on his hands and all these big questions swirling around. And that's what leads him to, well, a pretty random and life-changing conversation. Yeah, so he gets laid off, he's feeling lonely, stuck in his apartment, so what does he do? He hops on Omegle, that website that connects you with totally random people. He wasn't looking for answers or anything profound, really, just anything, to fill the void. And then he gets connected with 2 Muslim sisters in hijabs. He starts asking them questions, probably expecting the usual stuff, but their answers just dumbfounded him. And this quote really sums it up. Everything that they feed you about Islam is what is actually going on in the West. It was like all the negative stereotypes he'd ever heard were actually a reflection of his own society. It just completely flipped the script on him.
So that conversation really planted a seed. It just sat with him for 6 whole months. He couldn't stop thinking about it. And he finally realized, this can't just be some random, interesting chat I had online. He had to find out more. He had to go get some answers in person.
So get this. He walks into a local mosque with a list of 7 questions. He's basically going in there ready for a fight, totally expecting to stump them, prove them wrong, and just go back to his comfortable bubble. But that is not what happened. For every single question he threw at them, he got what he called a perfect answer. And suddenly, he was faced with this choice he couldn't ignore. I mean, can you even imagine that? They've answered all his questions, and he just sits there in total silence for 5 minutes. Just processing. The logic was just so clear to him, the truth so undeniable that he started tearing up. He realized, I'm really about to become Muslim right now. This wasn't a debate anymore. It was real. And he converted right then and there. But becoming Muslim wasn't the fairy tale ending. In a lot of ways, it was the beginning of a whole new set of challenges. And the very first hurdle was a big one, telling his friends and family. And their reactions were not exactly supportive. Yeah, his family's reactions were all over the place. You got his mom saying, I wish you became Jewish instead. His own brother thought he was going to become a terrorist. I mean, wow. He said later he realized it all came from a place of worry, from misunderstanding. But still, that's incredibly tough to hear. And here's something really honest. Looking back, he says his biggest regret wasn't what they said, but how he reacted. He mirrored their fear and worry with his own anger and just ended up cutting everyone off. It's a mistake he now warns other new converts about, saying, you have to meet that stuff with patience, not more anger. So after all that chaos, how did he actually find his footing and a sense of purpose? Well, this is where things get really interesting. He had this profound and honestly pretty surreal spiritual experience that took his new faith from just an idea in his head to something he felt deep in his bones. Okay, this next part is pretty wild. So it starts with this terrifying dream he has about a very specific house he's never seen before. Then he describes this house to a friend who sends back a photo of the exact same house. Turns out, his friend was house-sitting there at that very moment. Craziness. After that, weird things start happening in his own apartment, things moving on their own. He starts doing research and comes across the Islamic concept of jinn, spirits, and how they can be present in certain places. And for him, it just clicked. It was the only explanation that made sense of everything that was happening. This new faith also gave him a completely new framework for life, centered on this idea of dunya versus akhirah. Basically, the dunya is this temporary world we're living in now, and the akhirah is the eternal afterlife. The whole point isn't to reject this world, but to see it for what it is, temporary, and to live your life here with the ultimate goal of the afterlife in mind. It reframes everything. And this brings us to his big takeaway, which is pretty counterintuitive. He says a lot of people, even some born Muslims, think Islam limits you in this life. But he sees it as the exact opposite. He calls it the cheat code to success in the dunya. Think about it. If your focus is on the afterlife, you're naturally going to be more disciplined, more honest. You're playing the long game. You're not chasing short-term highs or cutting corners. And ironically, that's what actually helps you build a really successful, stable life right here and now. So we'll leave you with this. It's a question he often asks to get people thinking. If there's a beginning of time, who created time? It's one of those big, foundational questions, right? It kind of forces you to zoom out from the day-to-day and really think about the bigger picture, about creation, about existence, and maybe, just maybe, about our own purpose in it all.